And we're live.
Hi, everybody. This is ValueTokenized with Masha and Zania.
Hi, everybody.
And the world is going crazy right now, but we still have some good news. And one of this good news is that Ownera recently launched a live demo of its platform, and we're super happy to have CEO and founder of Ownera, Amit and David, on our podcast again. We made a great interview with him several months back, and Ami, we're super excited to have you again.
Hi, thank you. I'm very happy great to see you guys again. Go ahead.
Ami, maybe you can start with a brief take. What is going on with the current markets, how it is affecting the whole industry, and how you and Ownera are feeling it?
Well, I think everybody knows that what's happening right now is a shock to the system. It's it's basically stopped a lot of activities, or most of the activities in the market. Before it started happening, we had a lot of momentum, but at this point in time, I think a lot of things are just moving slower, and I think it just takes some time for people to get used to the new normal. We have moved all of our company to work from home. I've been working from home. That means all the meetings are on video, and no conferences, or conferences are again trying to get organized to do it virtually. I think, as expected, no one has too much bandwidth right now for doing new technology, new things. It's just going to take some time for things to go back to normal. And what I see right now is just an opportunity for people like me to maybe put our head down a little bit and just build stuff in the background, especially companies that are well financed and can weather the storm, can sit down and just build and develop. And this is not a time to kind of jump on new clients and new partners and so on. I think that this will come. What I am seeing is that after 2 or 3 weeks of complete silence, or almost complete silence from new people, I'm starting to get people calling me back, coming back and saying, okay, practically bored at home, or looking to go back to some sort of normality, away from dealing with the problems and focusing on bad things, trying to think a little bit about the future. And I expect, as people stay more at home, it will start to gradually go back. Hopefully what we're doing is another step in digitizing. So everything today that is about digitizing something that's analog, I think will get a boost. This is kind of the long-term hope and vision. So I'm expecting things to go back to normal. And a lot of people that are going out of the markets will probably come back into the market when things go back to normal. But when that will happen, I have no expertise in that, so I'm not going to try to guess.
Thank you so much, Ami. Yeah, we certainly share this vision. Yeah, and it's really interesting to see what you have been working on. So maybe if you can start with a demo, or tell us a couple of words about the history of this platform first.
Okay, so Ownera was designed to be the digital platform for digital securities for the institutional market. This is the way that we built it, and we spend a lot of time working on the technology under the hood. And what I'm going to show you today is a demo of the platform. Interestingly enough, the demo is going to be relatively short, especially the investor part of it is going to be very short. And I think that's one of the nice things about it. I mean, a lot of those platforms that you move from to the digital world only succeed when they're very, very simple to use, like Netflix or Uber. You can demo them in 2 minutes, practically. But under the hood, you have massive infrastructure that supports the fact that you can demo them in 2 minutes. So I was trying to be in a position where we can manage all the complexities of the institutional ownership of assets under the hood, but at the same time create a platform where institutional investors and institutional banks and so on can utilize the platform to go digital, especially around private assets. So this is the kind of the high level. Let me do a share screen just quickly. Tell me if you can see what I'm showing you.
Yeah, we can see it.
Good to hear.
Great. You can see it. Okay, great. Let me just minimize that maybe. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Better.
Okay, great. So this is the structure, the architecture of the Ownera network, just to begin with. Basically, Ownera is a network built on top of Hyperledger Fabric that is designed for digital securities, where all the nodes on the network are all regulated financial institutions. So you'd have investment banks, you have exchanges, asset managers, broker dealers, and they have two main roles in this platform. One role is to bring the assets, and the other role is to bring the investors. So you can think about it as technology, but you can also think about it as a distribution network. It's one of the biggest problems with security tokens, and I've been doing security token really from the beginning. I was involved in launching one of the first security tokens, probably the first that enforced regulation and code. One of the biggest problems is distribution. Okay, so you tokenize an asset. Now what's next? Who's going to actually invest? So one of the things that the Ownera network is doing is it brings together those regulated financial institutions. They bringing assets onto the network, giving them validity and some authentication that these are real assets. And on the other side, they bring their clients to invest in their own assets, but also in the assets that the other network partners are bringing into the environment. So I'm going to show you today basically three dashboards. One dashboard is the dashboard of the investor. One dashboard is what the asset would see. And the third one is what the actual bank or regulated financial institution will see from their side as the entity that creates the market and the distribution. So let's start with the investor. This is the screen of an investor, some demo investor called FinGrowth on a demo bank. This, by the way, is on a demo, on a test network, but we were fully ready to deploy a full network. 1st of April is just might be delayed a little bit, obviously, but the platform is there completely or nearly completely done. Now, so let's talk about the users. So we have FinGrowth, an investor, and what they see on this platform is they see their assets. So the first asset they see is the money. This is money that they have deposited in order to make investments on the network, which has been turned into digital coupons. They can either invest those or they can redeem them back into money. The second thing that they see is the assets that they can invest in or they already invested in. So this one is called Atlantica. It's a space agency, a space project, and I can go down here and I can see all the details about it. And the other one is called Eaglebase. It's another, and it's a software company. These are all demo companies, but they're actually based on real companies that we are bringing to market. So, for example, one of the things that you can see when you look at the assets that you can buy is something called KYA. KYA is Know Your Asset. It's a set of documents that define what this asset includes. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes. It's very important, but basically, if you want to know what you're going to buy if you invest in Eaglebase, you click on the KYA, it will go to the blockchain and download an immutable version of their private placement memorandum in this case. So you can read it and you can know exactly what you're buying and exactly what your rights are as a digital security holder. Now, let's do a demo of an investment. Let's say I really like Eaglebase and I want to invest. So I'm going to click invest here. I'm going to tap, let's say, 10,000 shares that I want to buy. I'm going to click confirm transaction. It will now go to the blockchain. It will verify regulation compliance, and then within 3 seconds it is settled. So you can see that the money is reduced and the assets are increased. And as I said before, this is it. So this is the presentation on the investor side. It's very, very simple. Now, a few things. Let's compare this to the current analog world, and then compare it to the other kind of security token crypto world. In the analog world, this would replace basically connecting Eaglebase, having my lawyer talk to the Eaglebase lawyer, having negotiations, documents, weeks of work, and then in the end we will sign it. I will send the money to their bank. They will approve that they got the money. And what you saw here was a 3 seconds, invest, finish, done. Okay, so compared to the real world, we're reducing massive friction. We're enabling international trade. And for anybody that ever invested in a private asset, to be able to go in and say, I want to invest 100,000, buy 100,000 shares for $1 million, click here, and in 3 seconds, it is actually fully settled. This is revolutionary, I think, in its own right. So that's compared to the old world. This is bringing the vision that we've always talked about to a 2 seconds demo. But if you compare it also to the security token world that you know today, what I would call first generation security token platforms, like platforms that I've been kind of working on and in the past and others, what you don't see here is this user, Fingrowth, have never seen the word blockchain. They haven't seen the word security token. They don't need to open an account. They don't know what a key is, or a private key, or a public key. They didn't have to do anything that has to do with coins, nothing whatsoever. They logged in with their bank's username and password. We already connected this platform to 2,000 banks single sign-on. So it's not that we have 2,000 partners, but we already connected to 2,000 single sign-ons of banks. And any one of these banks, if they join the network, their client could just log in, and then 2 seconds later, they can start operating. So what's not here is basically all the complexity. What the user also didn't have to do, they didn't have to open an Ethereum account. They didn't have to prove that the account belongs to them, and then send Ether, buy Ether, send Ether. All of this complexity is gone. And I think this is critical in order to be able to go to the institutional market. In this environment, a client of the bank will just log in with the username and password of the bank, and 2 seconds later, they see information, they can start trading. Now, all the information you're seeing here is coming from the Ownera API. The bank would install the Ownera node, and on top of it, the Ownera API, and all the information here comes from the API, which means that the bank can connect this information to their standard screens. So you can just open your regular bank screen, and this information will appear there. The same exact information will appear there. So it's not only our own dashboard that's available, but also it's connectable to the banks and to exchanges' own platforms very, very easily. So that's the one part of this platform. The other side of the platform is to look at what happens from the side of the issuer. So I just bought shares in Atlantica and in Eaglebase. So let's go to the screen of Eaglebase. So this is Eaglebase, right? Before the transaction, they had $732,000 and they issued 146,000 shares. I'm going to refresh it now. And now I have more money and I have more shares issued, and I can click here and I can see the cap table. Okay, I can see each one of those clients that invested. For each one of these clients, I can see all the information. And just to give you a sense again, usually private companies manage their securities in something that would look like that, a cap table, managed on Excel sheets and so on. This would replace the cap table. All the information of the cap table is available here. So cap table can be generated from this. And even if you compare it to a platform like Carta, what you see here is very revolutionary, because every transaction instantly updates it. So when somebody is doing a transaction here, it will automatically update here. The same thing if you look from this is the screen of Atlantica. Atlantica, if I'm going to refresh Atlantica, and you will see that Atlantica now have $11 million to take, and they issued more shares. So for the assets managing their cap tables become basically opening a screen and looking at the screen, and it's all there. So this is the side of the client. This is the side of the issuer. So the last element is to go back to the node itself, to the bank. And if you look at it from the bank's point of view, I'm going to refresh again, you will see that it will update to the correct numbers. If I look at the bank itself, the bank can see all the assets that they brought into the market. For each asset, they can see also the cap table, the owners of the asset. But they also have another look, which is to look through the owners list, and they can look at the Fingrowth, and they can see what Fingrowth is actually holding, the money and the shares that Fingrowth, the client, is holding. So basically what you have is a market where assets come in, clients come in, and the client and the market can start trading. just a few more things for just to show kind of more depth into the platform. Every client can have a view of their transactions, so we can see the $1 million that we put into Atlantica, and before that, the money that we put into Eaglebase, and they can see their certificates. Their certificates would be KYC, accreditation documents, and so on. And each asset can say which accreditation they require in order to accept the client. So in effect, we don't have any whitelist and blacklists, and any exchange that want to join the network does not have to make a deal with the other exchanges to synchronize their whitelist and all of these things that you would see on kind of first generation security token platforms. Over here, it's all live production and work exchange. The exchanges will do all the transactions live, even in high frequency, and 3 seconds later, the blockchain is updated live. So this is it. This is the Ownera platform. Happy to answer any
extremely
questions.
exciting, Ami, and as you said, indeed revolutionary. And I want to ask, so Ownera is institutional grade platform, so it is oriented on banks, on financial institutions. But do you see this type of platform working for retail? No.
I think this platform is scalable to go and reach the retail people down the line. My philosophy is that if a platform is built for retail people to come, it's not necessarily built for a pension fund. But if a platform can accommodate a pension fund, then it could reach retail. So I wanted to start from the most kind of difficult one and come to a position where retail clients, when it reaches retail clients, then they can really trust the platform. One of the key elements of the platform is what I showed you before is the KYA. And this is, to answer your question, it adds a lot of value, because what KYA does is make sure this KYA basically is verified by the bank or by the node that brought it to the market. It gives the bank a business model because they can take fees and so on, but it also gives the client, the investor, the validity that this asset has the most up-to-date final information about it, and give them really the sense of knowing that. One of the biggest problems that I saw, for example, in Ethereum was that anybody can load any asset that they want, and they can say anything they want about their asset. They can say, here's an asset, it will give you 1,000% a year. Okay, and we've seen people say that. And how can you tell the difference between one that is complete, scam, and one that is, the best business investment in the market? By relying on those nodes on Ownera to actually bet the reputation or put the reputation behind those assets into the. So the network does not care what the KYA. So starting with assets that are more for institutions and accredited investors. Down the line, if an asset that is capable of approaching retail because of the regulation wants to launch, then the platform can support that as well, and will do better in terms of performance than any public market today.
I think our time is coming up for today, but I want to ask one more question. So in the context of the COVID outbreak crisis, we really can see the movement towards digitization. And it's not only because it's a trend, but it's a necessity, since companies, they really have to do this, to support something like non-face-to-face transactions, and to really make this movement, move as rapidly as they can. And do you think that once the things set a little bit more, Ownera is actually something that can help answer this large demand from these companies?
I'm sure of that. I think this is where the market is going, and actually it was going in this direction before the current crisis. I don't know how long the crisis will take to finish, and I hope that it will finish fast and with as little damage as possible, to people's lives, but also to the economy. But when it does pass, platforms like, I think people will recognize much more the importance of platforms like that. Platforms that make things digital, instantly available, instantly movable from one place to the other at the touch of a button. And all of these kind of platforms that require a lot of people to sit in rooms and yell at each other over small details of a contract will go away and be replaced by a platform like that. That's what I think that I'm hearing also from people that I'm talking to in the market right now, the people that are starting to go back to the market. So I think the move to digital started before, but definitely will accelerate once everything is finished, and that's what I hope will be one of those things that potentially will help the economy also come out of the crisis, to have more opportunities for people to be involved and engaged.
All right, yeah, I think this is it for today. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us and for demoing Ownera.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me
Thank
the
you very
opportunity.
much. It's extremely exciting what you have built and what you're in the process of building. And yeah, despite the current circumstances, if they would give a boost to the fully digitized economy, well, at one point it will be fully digitized. We're absolutely sure about that. And then it's a good thing. So yeah, thank you very much, Amy, for being with us.
Thank you. Just one more thing I wanted to say about this platform is that this is a network. So as a network, we're approaching and calling for banks, institutions, and so on to work with us. We're calling for assets to bring onto the network, but we're also calling people who are developing platforms to connect to this API and build use cases for the other types of assets and other elements. And this is a network that is available for everybody, and it's on our site, Ownera.io. So thanks again.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.